How's it going, friends? And welcome to Snake Meal, the channel that puts a spotlight on your favorite villains. I'm your host, the Lore Master, and today I'm reporting from Shadow Moses Island to tell you everything there is to know about the Sons of Big Boss. To do so, I will be detailing events from these Metal Gear Solid games, so if you're worried about spoilers, you've been warned. Anyways, let's jump right into it because this is gonna be a long one. Many years ago, the base on this island was owned and operated by an arms tech dummy corporation. The site posed as a nuclear weapons disposal facility to secretly develop Metal Gear Rex for the US. I'm sure you already know this, but Rex was a metal behemoth capable of limitless destruction. Its railgun could launch near undetectable nuclear warheads, while its bipedal features, courtesy of Granin, allowed Rex to operate on any terrain. DARPA generously funded the project and pulled its resources from the US black budget. The NGSF and Foxhound provided security on the island. The NGSF, or Next Generation Special Forces, was unique for utilizing gene therapy to strengthen its soldiers. Members had their nucleotide alignment rearranged to resemble Big Boss's DNA or were injected with his so-called soldier genes. Despite these modifications, the NGSF soldiers were still a far cry from the legend. Many of them had little or no experience outside of VR training. Foxhound similarly had ties to Big Boss. He founded the Elite Black Ops unit in 1971. It remained under his command until his plans with the mercenary nation of Outer Heaven were thwarted. Roy Campbell assumed control of the group until 2000, when it was handed over to Liquid Snake. In 2005, the 7 members of Foxhound and the NGSF initiated the Shadow Moses incident upon capturing DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and Arms Tech President Kenneth Baker. Labeling themselves as the Sons of Big Boss, the terrorists threatened nuclear action against the US if $1 billion and Big Boss's corpse weren't delivered to them. A former Foxhound operative known as Solid Snake was pulled out of retirement to handle the developing situation. After arriving at the island via a diver propulsion vehicle, Snake would run into each Foxhound member, starting with Decoy Octopus. Decoy Octopus was Foxhound's master of disguise. He could perfectly mimic his subject's appearance, mannerisms, and dialect to infiltrate groups of interest. His impersonation skills even reached the molecular level when he would inject his subject's blood into himself. These impressive abilities would be put to use after Revolver Ocelot accidentally tortured Donald Anderson to death. With Anderson dead, the Sons of Big Boss locked themselves out of the PAL system. The PAL system was a safety device that required 2 codes to arm the base's nuclear weapons. The only way to activate the system without the codes was with a special keycard, which the group was not in possession of. Hope was not lost, however, because Decoy Octopus had a plan involving our favorite cigarette-loving agent. Disguising himself as Anderson, Decoy Octopus awaited Snake in a cell. When the two met, Octopus convinced Snake that obtaining the keycard would foil the terrorists' plans. Before Snake could be further manipulated, their conversation was cut short when Octopus died of a heart attack. You see, at some point, Octopus became infected by a retrovirus designed by the Pentagon. Labeled as Fox Die, the virus induced cardiac arrest when recognizing a person's DNA. In this case, Fox Die was programmed to react to Snake's presence.
So you're the one that the boss keeps talking about.
And you?
Special Operations Foxhound. Revolver Ocelot.
Our next Foxhound member is Revolver Ocelot, an expert in interrogation and a formidable gunfighter. His weapon of choice was a single-action army revolver, which he skillfully used to ricochet bullets towards his victims. To my knowledge, he He is the only man acquainted with all 5 men codenamed as Snake. He was a friendly rival to Big Boss, a right-hand man to Liquid and Solidus, one of Venom's top advisors, and a nemesis to Snake. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Long before Ocelot met the Snakes, he was brought into the world via a C-section during the Allied invasion of Normandy. He was the offspring of the Sorrow and the Joy, both of which were Cobra Unit operatives. If you'd like to learn more about these characters, I have a video covering the Cobra Unit on this channel. Be sure to check it out and forgive me for indulging in a bit of self-promotion. As a young adult, Ocelot found himself under the command of Colonel Vulcan's GRU unit while simultaneously operating as a spy for the KGB and CIA. His status as a triple agent would follow him throughout his career. Due to his impressive heritage and association with the philosophers, Ocelot was granted his own personal squad. He and his goons were introduced to Big Boss, at the time known as Naked Snake, during a Virtuous mission. In their encounter, Ocelot had yet to discover his natural proclivity towards revolvers. He entered battle utilizing a Makarov, which jammed on him, allowing Big Boss to defeat him and his crew. Big Boss then informed the young soldier that his weapon jamming resulted from user error. He explained that Ocelot's tendency to twist his elbow to absorb recoil was more suited for a revolver. Heeding his newfound rival's advice, Ocelot began using his signature weapon. Once Operation Snake Eater commenced, the CIA tasked Ocelot with aiding Big Boss and retrieving the Philosopher's legacy for the US. While Big Boss was working to accomplish his own objectives, he was captured by Vulcan and tortured by him. Ocelot witnessed the event and gained an appreciation towards Vulcan's actions, calling it the ultimate form of expression. It's safe to say that this is what prompted Ocelot to study various torture methods. Midway through Big Boss's electroshock therapy, Vulcan commanded the Joy to cut out Big Boss's eyes. Doing so would have stripped away Big Boss's ability to operate as a soldier. Tatiana, or Eva, objected to this order, leading Ocelot to question her motives. Hoping to expose the spy, he began to subject Eva to his unique form of Russian roulette. Big Boss pushed Ocelot out of the way the moment the bullet was fired. The bullet found Big Boss's eye, later resulting in him adorning his iconic eye patch. Ocelot and Big Boss ran into each other several times throughout Operation Snake Eater. I won't detail all of their encounters as many aren't integral to Ocelot's story. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his involvement in Big Boss's fight with Vulcan. When Vulcan requested Ocelot's aid, he responded with my favorite quote from any Metal Gear game.
Fight like a man, Vulcan.
Vulcan?
In the epilogue of MGS3, we learn that Ocelot successfully procured half of the Philosopher's legacy for the US. The remaining half was in the possession of the KGB, which Ocelot later obtained in 1970. He opted to keep this portion of the slush fund due to his growing dissatisfaction with the American branch of the Philosophers. Aiming to free the US from the organization's influence, Ocelot murdered the director of the CIA and procured their portion of the legacy. Although Major Zero had helped Ocelot accomplish this deed, Ocelot planned to break ties with his benefactor. His mind changed upon being informed of the Perfect Soldier project. We'll learn more about this project later. Ocelot agreed to create a new organization with Zero under the condition that Big Boss could join. Together, Ocelot, Zero, Big Boss, Sigint, Paramedic, and Eva founded the Patriots. United by their disregard for government notions of friend or foe, the Patriots utilized the remaining bit of the legacy to fund their operations. Tensions in the group later arose regarding Zero's interpretation of the boss's will and the creation of the Les Enfants Terribles project, causing Big Boss to leave the group. Sharing Big Boss's discontent, Ocelot kept a close eye on Zero and his private intelligence network, Cypher. In 1975, Big Boss's Militaires Sans Frontières were decimated by a rogue Cypher strike force led by Skullface. This placed Big Boss in a coma, which he would remain in for many years. Though skeptical of Zero's plan to create a body double of Big Boss following the tragedy, Ocelot agreed to brainwash one of the injured MSF soldiers into believing he was the legend. This soldier would become known as Venom Snake.
It's an extremely sensitive covert operation. You'll be one man against an entire squad of high-tech special ops. If you want to survive, you gotta have brains. You have to be in peak physical condition. The fate of the free world is in your hands, soldier. Failure is not an option.
Sir, aren't these tests kind of easy?
Suicide mission.
Metal Gear Solid.
While Big Boss and Venom were in their coma, Ocelot returned to the Soviet Union and served as the GRU's chief interrogator during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. He became feared among the Mujahideen, who nicknamed him Shalashaska. His position concealed his real motive of keeping Big Boss safe until his return. Following both Big Boss and Venom Snake's awakening from their coma, Ocelot debriefed the legend on Zero's plan. Ocelot then used hypnotherapy to convince himself that Venom was the real Big Boss. While in his hypnotized state, Ocelot committed himself to Diamond Dog's mercenary activities. He supported them during their vengeful campaign against XOF and occasionally tortured Huey Emmerich to gain information benefiting their cause. Shortly after Ocelot regained his memories, Kazuhira Miller discovered the truth behind Venom's identity and confronted the gunslinger. Upon being informed of Big Boss's plan to organize the nation of Outer Heaven, Miller felt betrayed and refused to further support Big Boss.
They played us like a damn fiddle!
He kept up appearances in front of Venom, but only to undermine Big Boss by strengthening his Phantom. Miller vowed to later find one of Big Boss's sons to train him and cause Big Boss's downfall. Years later, Miller lived up to his promise when Solid Snake defeated and captured Big Boss during the Zanzibar land disturbance. With Big Boss captured, the Patriots placed him in a nanomachine-induced coma. This infuriated Ocelot, who began plotting how to best retrieve his idol from his former companions. In 2000, Ocelot joined Foxhound to closely work with Liquid, another one of Big Boss's sons. He assisted Liquid in becoming a leader on par with his father and was reacquainted with Psycho Mantis, whom he met during his time with the Diamond Dogs. And now, finally, we arrive at the Shadow Moses incident. Secretly working as an agent for US President George Sears, Ocelot encouraged Liquid to incite his insurrection. To aid the group in their revolt, Ocelot tortured Kenneth Baker and Donald Anderson to gain their nuclear launch codes. He successfully divulged one of the codes out of Baker, but was unable to discover the other one from Anderson due to killing him. It was a necessary evil for Ocelot, as Anderson knew his loyalty towards the sons of Big Boss was not absolute. When Ocelot inevitably ran into Snake, he challenged him to a gunfight. Their battle was cut short when Gray Fox entered the arena and cut off Ocelot's right hand, forcing him to flee. In their subsequent encounter, Ocelot would interrogate Snake following his capture. He electrocuted the legend's noble offspring with the promise of murdering Meryl should he submit to his methods. While in his element, Ocelot revealed that his ultimate goal was to create a world of strife that allowed people to express their true feelings. Even with Ocelot's contributions, the sons of Big Boss were ultimately defeated. Regardless, Ocelot was still able to achieve his true goal of obtaining Rex's battle data for the president. Utilizing said data, the events of Metal Gear Solid 2 were sparked into action.
This is Raven's territory. Snakes don't belong in Alaska. I will not let you pass.
Foxhound's heavy weapons / explosive ordnance specialist was none other than a Vulcan Raven. As a native-born Inuit Alaskan, Raven was raised by his people as a shaman. This background gifted Raven with his unique spiritual abilities and a strong intuition. Many of Raven's accomplishments can be attributed to his massive cold-resistant build. Well, aside from his status as a University of Alaska graduate. Go Polar Bears! In the Eskimo Indian Olympics held each year in Fairbanks, Raven dominated the muck-tuck eating and ear pull contests as well as the 4-man carry event, impressively completing it with 6 men. When he wasn't competing, Raven enjoyed trapping deer within Alaska's perilous Brooks Mountains. His military career began shortly after a chance encounter with Ocelot during a trip across the frozen Bering Strait to Siberia. He initially dedicated his talents to Vimpel, a Soviet Special Forces unit, then assisted Big Boss in Outer Heaven before eventually joining Foxhound. His weapon of choice was an M61A1 20mm multi-barreled autocannon modified for portable use. In Raven's first battle with Snake, he piloted an M1 Abrams tank before it was destroyed by a slew of grenades. In their second battle, Raven attempted to pump Snake full of lead with his autocannon. He was unsuccessful and following his defeat was consumed by his Ravens to become one with them. Psycho Mantis was a particularly disturbed individual who possessed powerful psychic abilities. These powers allowed Mantis to manipulate others, utilize telekinesis, and break through the fourth wall by reading memory cards. Mantis became aware of his supernatural gift at a young age when he accidentally read his father's mind. Discovering that his father resented him for causing his mother's death during childbirth, Mantis decided to murder his dad by burning down his home village in Soviet Russia. From then on, Mantis began wearing a gas mask to shield people's thoughts from forcing their way into his mind. Mantis's crime garnered him the attention of the Soviet government, which captured the young psychic and stuck him on a plane to be transported to a Moscow research lab. During the flight, the aircraft flew over the comatose venom snake. Mantis's innate sensitivity towards strong negative feelings detected Venom's vengeful spirit, causing him to lose control of his powers. This resulted in the plane crashing and exploding, leaving Mantis as the sole survivor. Mantis eventually was recovered and delivered to the aforementioned lab, which focused on researching the paranormal. Residing within the facility was the body of Colonel Vulcan, whose hate towards Big Boss yet again triggered Mantis's powers. This time, Mantis's episode caused the former GRU operative to be revived as the Man of Fire. Together, the two burned down the lab and traveled to Cypress Hospital, where XOF had begun their operation to kill Big Boss. Mantis was later recruited by Skullface, whose lust for revenge trumped Vulcan's and therefore demanded his loyalty. Under XOF, Mantis became an invaluable asset to the organization. His abilities allowed them to control Metal Gear Sahelanthropus without needing AI or a pilot. XOF's over-reliance on Mantis to control the mech would eventually lead to their downfall. During the climactic confrontation between Venom Snake and Skullface's forces in the Sahelanthropus hangar bay, Mantis detected Eli's hateful spirit in the vicinity. Favoring Eli's emotions, Mantis became a conduit for the young Brit to control Sahelanthropus and attempt to kill Venom. Eli was, of course, unsuccessful in his pursuit. The battle concluded with Diamond Dogs assuming ownership over Sahelanthropus, Mantis escaping with the last parasite vial, and Skullface meeting his demise. Back on Mother Base, Mantis assisted Eli in escaping to an island with Sahelanthropus and several child soldiers after gifting him the vial. Together, the two created a stronghold likened to the Lord of the Flies and infected the area with the parasite. Here, Venom defeated Sahelanthropus for the final time, rendering it damaged beyond repair. Aware of the island's infection, the Diamond Dogs decided to sterilize the area through the use of napalm. Before fire rained from above, Venom left Eli a gun with a singular bullet and was extracted from the island. Realizing how utterly defeated he was, Eli pointed the firearm towards his temple. Before he could pull the trigger, Mantis appeared in front of Eli. Using his powers, Mantis extracted the parasite infection from Eli and levitated both of them to safety. Mantis wouldn't be reunited with Eli until much later in their lives. In the interim, Mantis found employment with the KGB as part of their psychic intelligence unit. He then brought his unique skill set to the FBI when the Soviet Union collapsed. As an FBI agent, Mantis entered the minds of suspected killers to uncover the truth behind their crimes. In one instance, Mantis dove a bit too deep into a serial killer's mind and adopted the subject's personality, becoming psychotic. Following his stint with the FBI, Mantis acted as a freelance spy, offering his services to the highest bidder. During his travels, Mantis became disgusted with humanity upon reading the minds of thousands of people. The final person to hire Mantis was Eli, who had now fully adopted the moniker of Liquid Snake. Together with the rest of the Foxhound unit, they incited the insurrection on Shadow Moses Island. Born in Iraqi Kurdistan sometime after the Second Iraqi-Kurdish War, Sniper Wolf's earliest memories were characterized by the sounds of gunfire and sirens. Moving from shelter to shelter with her family to hide from the violent regime, Sniper Wolf experienced death around every corner. It was commonplace for Wolf to awaken from her slumber and find someone close to her dead. Wolf's desperation to be liberated from her extreme environment and the lack of aid from the international community fostered her hatred towards the political world. Fate later brought Big Boss to Wolf, who took the young girl and raised her as a soldier. Wolf, like many others, grew to adore Big Boss. She called him Saladin, referencing the first sultan of Egypt and Syria who hailed from a Kurdish family. Developing under Big Boss's wing and training with the Gurkhas of Nepal, Wolf became an excellent marksman. She specialized as a sniper, and much like the End, could wait for her target to appear in a singular spot for weeks at a time. While residing in her nests, Wolf found comfort in watching conflicts unfold from the outside instead of being on the front lines. While on the hunt, Wolf occasionally became obsessed with her target to the point of falling in love with them. Wolf agreed to join Foxhound after the presumed death of Big Boss with the intent of enacting her revenge on the world. After taking over the nuclear weapons disposal facility, the sons of Big Boss planned on killing the resident wolf dogs. Wolf refused to let this happen. This small action convinced Hal Emmerich that Wolf was a good person and he promptly fell in love with her. The feeling was not mutual, although she did give him one of her handkerchiefs while he was held prisoner out of sympathy. The Iraqi sniper eventually met her end after being shot in the lung during a battle with Snake across an expansive snowfield. As she laid in the cold dying, Wolf expressed regret for assisting in Liquid's plot. She referred to herself as a dog, but Snake assured her she was wild, untamed, and solitary, hence a wolf. In 1972, 8 clone embryos were created to safeguard the genetic legacy of the world's most legendary soldier. These embryos were placed into the womb of a notorious triple agent in the Cold War. Of the 8 embryos, 6 were intentionally aborted to promote the growth of the remaining 2. Further genetic modification was carried out to ensure one clone received Big Boss's dominant genes while the other received his recessive ones. The clone who inherited the dominant genes and was considered genetically superior would be later known as Liquid Snake, while the inferior clone would become known as Solid Snake. For the entirety of his life, Liquid incorrectly believed he was the inferior clone. Liquid, or Eli, was taken to England to live out his formative years. In 1979, at the age of 7, Liquid escaped his handlers while on a trip to Africa and disappeared. While loose in Africa, the young Brit recruited some child soldiers into a militia and became infamous for raiding villages. Fearful of Liquid, the locals contacted the Diamond Dogs for assistance. Responding to their pleas, Venom was sent to Massa village to extract Liquid, hoping the group would fall apart without their leader. Unable to best Venom in combat, the now 12-year-old Liquid was brought to Mother Base, where he would receive an education and be sent back into the world to become a useful citizen. The incessantly hostile son of Big Boss had other plans. Before Venom and Skullface's final confrontation, Liquid had smuggled himself aboard one of Diamond Dog's helicopters, hoping to witness some real action. Liquid made contact with Mantis and assumed control of the Metal Gear. As we've already covered this part of Liquid's life in the Mantis segment of this video, let's skip ahead to Liquid's adulthood. In 1990, Liquid joined the British Special Air Force and became the youngest person in history to join its ranks. While in service, Liquid was highly regarded for excelling at parachuting, rappelling, scuba diving, free climbing, and using small arms in military vehicles. During the Gulf War, Liquid was assigned to an SAS unit to track down and destroy Scud missiles. In truth, he infiltrated the Middle East as a sleeper agent for the British Secret Intelligence Service. While on foreign land, Liquid was taken prisoner by the Iraqis and declared MIA. The US government rescued him in 1994. In 1999, Solid Snake defeated Big Boss during the Zanzibar land disturbance. This action caused Liquid to hate and envy Snake. In his eyes, Snake denied him his chance to exact revenge on his father, whom he believed chose him to be the inferior clone. Liquid was reunited with Mantis the following year when he was given command of Foxhound. 5 years later, Liquid was convinced by his subordinate, Revolver Ocelot, to launch an insurrection against the US government. This incident was deliberately brought about to coincide with the signing of the START III Accord between the US and Russia. By exposing Rex's existence to the world, the signing would be put in jeopardy. The world's confidence in America's commitment to non-proliferation would erode, and international turmoil would ensue. Correctly anticipating Snake would be sent to Shadow Moses, Liquid arranged for Miller to be murdered at his home so that he could assume the role of Snake's former mentor. Posing as Miller, Liquid tricked Snake into believing Naomi Hunter was a spy and into activating Metal Gear Rex with the PAL key. Once Liquid's demands to the US government were met, he planned on launching a nuke at Lop Nur. Lop Nur was the location of a nuclear test site in China. This target held strategic value as China would be tempted not to inform the public of the attack and would force the US into disclosing some of its secrets. Liquid could then sell the nuclear weapons system to the highest bidder, and, using his newfound funds, could turn Shadow Moses into a new outer heaven. With such vast resources and Rex's power, Liquid would drag the world into global conflict and fulfill Big Boss's dream of creating a world that always had a place for soldiers. In the climactic finale of MGS, Liquid is cornered by Snake before hopping into Rex's cockpit to battle him. While the two were duking it out, Liquid got the upper hand on Snake and nearly squashed him before Gray Fox intervened. The cybernetic ninja assisted Snake by destroying Rex's radome, forcing Liquid to expose himself in the cockpit. This brave act was Gray Fox's last. After a few shots to Rex's cockpit, the machine was rendered inoperable and exploded, knocking Snake out. Liquid dragged the unconscious Snake on top of Rex's ruins. When Snake awoke, Liquid revealed the history of their creation and that he wired Meryl to a timed explosive. With Rex out of the picture, the US Secretary of Defense ordered a bombing raid on the facility. With time against him, Snake took on Liquid barehanded. Snake won by knocking Liquid off Rex to the floor far below. Liquid was not finished, however, as he chased after Snake and Meryl while they were attempting to escape the facility by jeep. Both parties' jeeps crashed at the tunnel entrance outside the Alaskan base. Bloodied and injured, Liquid staggered towards the duo with a FAMAS in hand. Snake and Meryl's fate seemed sealed as they were trapped underneath their wrecked vehicle. Fortunately for them, just as Liquid was about to kill them, he succumbed to the Fox Die virus.
What are you doing?
Breaking in. Hoping I can blow the reactors and get me a piece of that Cyber Ninja before it all goes nuclear.
Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes. Only for Nintendo GameCube.
Some retirement this is.
Rated mature.
My friends, we are finally in the home stretch. The only remaining boss to discuss is everybody's favorite cybernetic ninja, Gray Fox. Fox fought with the Frelimo guerrillas as a child in the Mozambican War of Independence. Rather cruelly, Fox would trick his enemies into letting their guard down by acting with the frankness of a young boy before killing them. His actions earned him the title of Frank Hunter, which evolved into Frank Jaeger as a nod to the little German he spoke. In 1966, the young Fox became acquainted with Big Boss. Unable to defeat the legend in battle, Gray Fox was placed in a rehabilitation center. Recognizing the boy's aptitude for killing, the CIA pulled Fox out of the rehab center and used him as a test subject in the Perfect Soldier project. The project turned the teen into a more efficient soldier, capable of killing his targets without remorse. When he was not fighting, Fox was kept in a fluid-filled sensory deprivation tank that reset his emotions and erased his memories. This harsh treatment enhanced his senses and reflexes to supernatural levels. Being the only test subject in the project to have survived, Fox was deemed a lost number and was given the codename Null. During the San Hirenmo incident, Gray Fox operated as a member of the Fox unit. Working with his team, Gray Fox confronted Big Boss in battle, which concluded in a stalemate. Fox's clash with the legend was permanently etched into his mind. When he was placed back into his culture tank, his memory persisted. Driven by the desire to see Big Boss again, Fox escaped his tank before eventually being subdued by Gene, another member of the Fox unit. Not easily deterred, Fox escaped his tank a second time and was able to track down Big Boss. While the two fought once more, Big Boss finally realized who his opponent was, and upon seizing his victory, convinced Fox to seek help from outside his unit. Following the San Hirenmo incident, Fox recovered Gray Fox's combat data. This data ultimately led the Patriots to focus on gene manipulation to create more able soldiers, resulting in such projects as Les Enfants Terribles and the Next Generation Special Forces. During the Rhodesian Civil War in 1979, Gray Fox found himself responsible for killing the parents of a young girl. Feeling immense remorse, Fox adopted the girl and cared for her as a younger sister. This girl later took the name Naomi Hunter, and the history of her parents' death was kept a secret. While participating in the Mozambican Civil War as a soldier for Renamo, Fox was captured and endured severe torture that led to his ears and nose being cut off. Like he had done many times before, Big Boss rescued Fox from his dire situation. While together, Big Boss met Naomi, whom he took with Fox to the United States. Big Boss and Fox soon returned to Africa to continue the war, leaving Naomi behind. In the 1990s, Gray Fox served in the Foxhound unit when Big Boss was reinstated as its commander. He was the only operative to ever receive the unit's highest commendation, the codename Fox. 5 years later, Gray Fox was assigned to Operation N312. His objective was to gather data on a top-secret nuclear weapon that the fortified state of Outer Heaven was developing. Fox was discovered and captured during his mission, but not before relaying his findings back to Foxhound. He was eventually rescued by rookie Foxhound operative Solid Snake, then disappeared with Big Boss following Outer Heaven's fall. The two traveled to Central Asia, forming Zanzibar Land and Metal Gear D. Crossing over Zanzibar Land's borders to conduct raids against several nuclear disposal sites eventually led to retaliation from Foxhound. Solid Snake was sent in to defeat Big Boss once again. Conflicted over Big Boss's plan to bring about a new age of global conflict, Gray Fox became a secret informant to Snake. Assuming the identity of Snake's biggest fan, he would often contact Snake to assist him in overcoming certain obstacles and traps. Fox eventually ran into Snake at the Bridge of Sorrow, which he destroyed using the Metal Gear before warning Snake to turn back and leave Zanzibar. Despite expressing his discontent with Snake for ignoring his threat, Fox continued to help him by using his fan alias. Later, when Snake obtained the Oilix formula, a trapdoor released under his feet, and he fell to Zanzibar's lower basement. Towering in front of Snake was Metal Gear D, once again piloted by Gray Fox. The two engaged in a fierce battle where Snake destroyed the weapon. The explosion caused Snake's equipment to catch fire, allowing Fox to recover the Oilix formula. Snake proceeded to chase Fox into a room filled with mines. The two fought again, with Snake emerging victorious. In his defeated state, Gray Fox explained to Snake that he supported Big Boss because he could only find his purpose in battle. Snake eventually left Fox behind to confront Big Boss. After the Zanzibar land disturbance, the Patriots secretly recovered Fox's body, which was blown apart by one of the mines. Dr. Clark experimented on Fox, and he was reborn. She grafted a powered exoskeleton directly onto his body by inserting a cybernetic module at the skeletal level, granting him enhanced strength and agility. Dr. Clark and her team used Fox as a guinea pig for 4 years to further their research. Their findings helped provide the data for the genome soldiers and the emotion-suppressing nanomachines that would later be incorporated into the Sons of the Patriot system. If you recall, earlier I stated that Fox's combat data while operating as null led to the development of the genome soldiers. Well, that portion of Fox's life occurred in Portable Ops, the only MGS game not directed by Hideo. For that reason, there is some contention about what information from that game is canonical. Regardless, the NGSF would not have come about without Fox. In 2000, Naomi joined Foxhound as Dr. Clark's assistant. While undercover, she helped her brother escape containment in 2003, then covered up Fox's actions after he killed Dr. Clark. Naomi then falsely reported her brother's death, allowing Fox to hide more effectively. Despite finally recovering his freedom, the torture Fox endured under Dr. Clark left his mind unstable. Within his tattered consciousness, one desire persisted: to face Snake in combat once more. Equipped with full-body optic camouflage, Fox set out to Shadow Moses to confront Snake. Just as Fox had done during Operation FO14, he occasionally transmitted helpful tidbits of information to Snake under a false alias. The ninja eventually ran into Snake during his battle with Ocelot. After cutting off Ocelot's hand and experiencing painful electrical spasms, Fox fled the scene. Fox and Snake had a proper battle later within Dr. Hal Emmerich's lab. This battle also ended with Fox retreating due to a painful outburst. In their third encounter, Fox and Snake acted as brothers in arms instead of enemies. They fought against Liquid while he piloted Rex. Fox's final action was to sacrifice himself to give Snake a leg up in the battle. Well, my friends, that concludes our deep dive into all of the bosses found in Metal Gear Solid. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.